Hey guys, so if I look awful, I'm sorry, I'm really tired, and also I'm filming this video quite early, but I thought I'd do this video now because there's not that long to go for GCSEs, and what's it called? This is my most requested video, which is English literature, because um I don't know if you know, but I had like such a journey with it, I feel like until year 11, my journey just kept going up and down. And then in year 11, I had a big I don't know, change of it. Well, not change, but all of a sudden I started doing really well, and then I was really aiming to do really well, and then I ended up getting a 9, which was really shocking because I never thought I'd get it one. So I thought this is my most requested video in English literature because most people don't know how to revise it because it is quite a um not straightforward subject at times, but I'm gonna be doing this video in two parts. I'm gonna be doing the basics. So it's the last minute revision things and the basic things, and then I'm also gonna be doing a part two, which is how to get the top marks, the top grades, 7, 8, 9, etc. So this one's gonna be the basics. So I'll just go straight into it because I don't want to waffle. Um, Number one, know your text. And I know now it might be a bit late to start start rereading them, especially if you have big long ones like Great Expectations or Dracula. But read summaries online or read them from a revision guide, or Wikipedia, so then you can get the date it was published, some of the context, etc. So then you know what it's about, and then you can try to reference it to other parts of the text, and then also you won't make mistakes in the exam. You won't say, oh, the comedy of Romeo and Juliet or something, just because obviously the examiner will be like, what? um and number two, this is probably the most asked about thing, quotes. So what I'd recommend is having 3 to 5 quotes per character and per theme, because for GCSE English literature they'll ask you, at least for AQA, they'll ask you for a character and a theme. I mean, for a character or a theme or both. So, for example, they could say, what's Macbeth's attitudes towards secret and lies, or how does how does Shakespeare present Lady's Macbeth ambition or something, and in which case you only need quotes per character and per theme. Um, so what I'd recommend doing is starting with 3 and then build up to 4. What I used to do was flashcards. I don't have them on me right now, but I'd have flashcards for each theme and each character, and also context, some showing context, especially for Inspector Calls and Macbeth. And I'd learn them all, and at first I started learning with 2 each, and then 3 each, and then 4 each, and then 5 each, and then having some extra quotes which I thought were nice. But and you're very lucky in the sense that the questions are quite broad a lot of the time. But so if they ask you about a character and you may not know that much, so then you can contrast it to another character. You could say, this character is presented like this, this, this. This character is also presented as a contrast to this character. Shakespeare or the author or the playwright did this in order to blah blah blah. So you're very lucky in that sense, because for A-level English literature it's very specific and 50% context, and it's yeah. And which brings me right onto my next thing, context. So as this is especially true for the play and the modern book and the 19th century novel, depending on your exam board, they'll ask you about context. So if you don't know any, ask your teacher, say what was happening at the time, and then maybe try doing a tiny bit of research in it. Just look up context of and whatever your text is, and then you could say and then you can just bring it up, bring it into your essays, because some of the marks are for context. So you could say, Shakespeare presented Lady Macbeth as ambitious and made to have a tragic downfall due to his attitudes toward women in the Jacobean times. And also talk about audience in your answer. Like, how would the audience have responded? You could say the Jacobean audience. This is another Macbeth example. The Jacobean audience would have been shocked by Macbeth murdering the king, but as kings were considered god due to the divine rights of kings in the Jacobean times. However, a modern audience would be more aware of the fact that Macbeth was a victim of the witch's spell or something. Like, talk about modern audience and audience from the time that it was written. I say audience, but audience or reader, like depending on if you're doing a text or a book. And with context, just try to say things are relevant. Like if you're studying some a novel from the Victorian century, and you're like, um, the Victorians had their first phones, but like you couldn't link it to anything in the text, then the examiner would be like, what's the point? But yeah, try to find things that are relevant. Like look up context of so and so, but like whatever the book is called or the play, and or you use your revision guides, or maybe to go on Wikipedia and see like what was happening at the time and try and link it. And back to quotes and to context. So, a lot of people ask what how to get the quotes. If the teacher hasn't given you any, um, and you can't find any online, because if you look up um your text and then basic quotes GCSE, then they often have them for each character and for each theme. But a really good books that I recommend are snap revision guides like these, especially for Macbeth, because Macbeth was very not last minute, but like I didn't know that much about it. This book really helped me. Like it really helped me get a 9, because not only did it explain each character and each theme and each context in like not too much detail, but like enough detail. But it also had basic quotes for each, and it also had practice answers and annotated answers and like mark schemes and practice questions. And these books were amazing. Like they used to be £3, but now the price has gone up on Amazon, but it's not that much. It's only like £4 or £5. And you just look up Collins Snap Revision, and then the name of your text and Amazon, and then you'll find them there, or you could find them in a shop. I think like a bookshop maybe. The CGP books are nice as well. I just think that like they're too detailed and it's like quite hard to find some books. But a really good CGP book I recommend was for poetry, like because all the poems are annotated, and then on the back they have the structure, form, um, and context, and like stuff about the author, the poet, which is really useful. Which brings me on to my next thing, poetry. What I did for poetry was, and again, I say what I did, but these are like my tips for you. I had 3 flashcards, so like I don't know, you might want to do it like in a mind map in 3 sections or something. I had quotes, like language quotes, and I tried to have one kind of for like different themes each of the poem. Then I had one for then I had one for structure, and structure is like it's how the poem's written. Like, is it in rhyme? What does the rhyme mean? Does it give the poem a more playful like setting, or does the lack of rhyme make it more serious, or does it illustrate the restlessness that's happening in the poem, or the first line and the last line are they identical? What does the cynical structure mean? Is it about journey? Are all the stanzas the same length? So like and I'd have like 3 to 5 points per poem, and there were like 15 poems I think, and then I'd also have a few points on context, so like about the author and the poet, and then about what the poet was going on and what was happening at the time, which is all in the CGP guide that you can just look up the poet or you can just look up the poem or the poet, and they'll give you some context on that. And with unseen poetry, with poetry, they give you a poem, and then they ask you to compare it to another poem, and you're lucky in the sense because they write down the poet that you have to compare another poem to, so you get to analyze that. But with unseen poetry, you get a completely new poem that you haven't studied before, or unless you've studied it by practice and by chance in the exam. But otherwise, they give you you have to annotate it and then write about it. So what I'd recommend doing for that is practice. Know your poetic techniques and know how to write an answer, but also practice. And like for GCSEs, you know how they give you all the poetry. Since there's two classes, go to the one that you have not studied and start annotating them. Start seeing all the techniques. Start seeing the writer's intention, and then if you do that a lot, then you'll get used to it, and then you'll be able to like see what you need to improve on. And you can even start writing answers like the Unseen Poetry Guide by CGP. They've now released another one, which is really good. This one really helped me because they had poems, and you'd annotate them, and then they'd also ask you like small questions to like help you annotate and help you see patterns, and then they'd give you proper practice questions, like exam style questions, and not just like analyzing the poem for a theme or something, but also comparing it to a second unseen poem, which was really useful. And which brings me on to my next point: practice. Like practice writing essays. Like don't do like me. I used to write like 5 a week, and it would really stress me out. So maybe don't do that many, but do try to maybe one practice question a week. And on one side, I think that it's important that you do something that while you have a question that you know well and that you've done a good essay on. I was sorry, I'll say it again. Whilst I also think that you should do an essay and then get it checked by your teacher. Get them checked by your teacher or by an examiner or someone maybe who's doing A-level English literature, and so then they can tell you what to improve on, and then also improve on it, and then you'll have like a model answer. But then also do topics like or characters or themes that you feel most unconfident for. So then you'll practice them, and then so if worst case scenario you get an exam and it's on those characters, then or those themes or those contexts, then you already have some. Like you won't have to worry that much. And yeah, practice. Like maybe don't drive yourself crazy, but try to do some practice answers. So then when you get in the exam, you know what to do. You know that you need to include context. You need to include language analysis. And which reminds me, a language analysis. Like try all the time. Well, not all the time, but like try analyzing a lot of the time. Like this quote means this. This verb signifies this. It could also mean this. The writer does this in order to try practicing all the time, like through annotations of poems, through annotation of text, through through practice essays. And they don't even need to be practice essays. I recommend doing at least 2 practice essays, one to get you in the like mood, well not mood, but like so then you have like a model answer, so then if you're stuck you can look at it. But then also which you can like look up online. Like if you look up model answers, you can find them online, or you can find them in revision guides, or you can ask your teacher for them. But then also do them on topics that you like, themes that you feel uncomfortable with, and but also you can do essay plans and essay paragraphs if you don't have a lot of time, and get someone to look at them and tell you what you can do better. And also look at mark schemes. Like mark schemes are really useful. Like they really help you know what to do to get the top marks. And for language techniques, learn your language techniques. Like sorry, that sounds really rough, but like try learning a few like metaphors, similes, like I know basic ones, especially for poetry. So then you can reference them in your answer, and you can try to you'll have more to talk about, as I say, um and I can feel my throat getting hurting. So I'm gonna end this there. Sorry if this video has been really rambling. I've just I don't know, I'm just really tired today, but I hope this has been somewhat useful. If you find, I might do another one just because this one's quite bad. But if you have any more questions, feel free to comment them down below, and I'll be happy to answer them. So, yeah, bye.